Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you clicked on this video, you're probably not a fan of journaling. I wasn't always a fan of journaling either, but today we're going to talk about my journey and how I learned to love journaling, why you probably don't like journaling, and how you can also learn to love it like I do. Now, I wasn't always a fan of journaling. Honestly, a long time ago I used to think it was stupid when I was first going through therapy and figuring out my mental health. My therapists would tell me to start a journal and track my feelings or write a mindfulness journal, and I honestly thought it was the stupidest thing in the world. And it really pissed me off when people told me that. So if you're relating to that feeling, this video is for you. Journaling is something that's preached so often nowadays. Therapists will tell you it, but also people on the internet. A lot of wellness influencers and people on their mental health grind preach about journaling. They say it's the best thing for self-improvement and it's amazing. But what they don't tell you is a lot of people struggle to journal. I think a lot of the time when people say to journal, it seems like an obvious solution to figuring out your feelings. But the people who are actually going through the hard time with their mental health find it a lot harder to actually journal. And there's a couple of reasons for that. For me, I've tried the typical diary type of journal where you're just talking about your day-to-day life and the struggles in it. While a diary style journal might work for some people, unfortunately it doesn't work for everyone because everyone processes their emotions differently. The problem is not that you hate journaling, you just hate the way you're told to do journaling. Another reason why you might hate it is because you don't want to face your feelings. Feelings can be really scary to deal with sometimes. Sometimes when you analyze your feelings through journaling, it can call you out, and sometimes we don't want to be called out on our bad behaviors. Or sometimes we don't want to be called out on the way that other people are mistreating us. What's important to remember with those feelings is that if you don't do the inner work to figure out your feelings, why you're feeling them, how to solve them, then the problems are just going to continue. Do we want our problems to continue? Most of the time, no. In my opinion, telling someone to journal can be a blanket statement. It can just be something you throw out there. And I think it's comparable to telling someone who's experiencing intense anxiety to just calm down, or someone who is having a panic attack to just take a deep breath. And if you've been told that before, you know how annoying and pissed off it makes you feel. Because, yeah, I'm having a panic attack, I'm trying to breathe, but I can't breathe. So that's what it can feel like with journaling. You're feeling these intense emotions and you don't want to face them, or they're really hard to write about. That can be another challenge with journaling, is that we don't know how to voice our feelings. We don't have the vocabulary, we don't know how to describe these intense feelings because feelings are so personal. They're so deep. They're not just thoughts in our brain, they're also feelings in our body. So writing your feelings in a diary can feel impossible because you don't even know how to describe your feelings to anyone else. How are you going to write about it? Well, that, my friends, is what I'm going to help you with today. First off, let me tell you the benefits of journaling. I'm sure you've heard them before. If you've clicked on this video, you're probably trying to better yourself. You're probably in therapy, or if not, you're probably trying to work on your emotions or your mental health issues, so I'm sure you know the benefits of journaling, but let's go through them one more time. Journaling is a very personal experience that allows you to analyze your emotions and let them out in a safe space where no one else can be a witness to them, no one else can judge you for them. You can write whatever you want. You're allowed to feel however you want, and that's an amazing thing that lots of people need. For me, I like to journal when I don't have someone to talk to, or I'm feeling really intense emotions that I need to let out before I can move on with my day. I think when it comes to learning to love it, you need to break down this preconceived idea of what journaling should be, what a diary should be. It can be whatever you want it to be. It can be whatever feels most beneficial to you. It doesn't need to be this strict thing. You don't need to do journaling the same exact way every time you do it. It also doesn't need to be writing down with a pen and paper. Those are very limiting ideas of releasing your feelings, which you should not necessarily adhere to because, as I said before, everyone processes their emotions differently. You gotta find what works for you. Now, let me give you some examples of some different journaling methods which are a little different from the typical diary style journaling. What's helpful for a lot of people, this is a widespread thing that a lot of people do with journaling, is looking up prompts about certain feelings or emotions. That way they can kind of get deeper into it. Sometimes people need the question to help them start to think about things differently. Sometimes we can't just sit down and start writing about something because you don't know where to start. So looking up prompts online can be really helpful, especially if you have a really specific issue that you want to tackle relating to mental health. Say it's childhood trauma, sexual trauma, it could be self-esteem issues, it could be depression, friendships, anything. So looking up those prompts for your specific thing you want to dive deeper into can be extremely helpful for you. And then there's digital journaling. I do a little bit of digital and pen to paper journaling because sometimes certain things work better for me in the moment. If I'm driving, I would like to do a voice recording. If I'm feeling intense feelings, but I can't write while I'm driving. So I love to do a voice recording occasionally and just rant. I almost rant as like I'm talking to a friend, but I'm just talking to myself. Or a lot of people use their notes apps. Notes apps are great. It's a digital journal. It's the same thing, but you're typing it. Another thing you could do if you don't want to write these long, lengthy things and you want to track how you're feeling on a day-to-day basis without writing about your mundane life all the time. If you're trying to figure out what emotions you're feeling most often, a good thing to do is just write down daily the feelings you felt that day. It doesn't need to be paragraphs long. You can just write a list of the feelings you felt that day. That can be a great way to track how you're feeling. Something else I also like to do on occasion is a gratefulness journal. I have a journal where I write a list of 10 things that I'm grateful for that day, and they change daily. That's a more positive type of journaling where you're trying to see the good in life if you're in a very pessimistic point of view. The way to break pessimism is to start sneaking optimism in throughout your day-to-day life, and I think a gratefulness journal is a great way to do that. Sometimes that can seem like a lot of pressure, but the things I write in my gratefulness journal are so mundane. When you're in a really negative mindset, sometimes you gotta start so small, and that's okay. You're starting somewhere. That's what's important, is that you're trying to do the work, and you'll eventually get to a point where you can be grateful for your life. But in general, starting off with a gratefulness journal, it can be, I'm grateful for the water I drank today. I'm grateful for the coffee. I'm grateful for the food. I'm grateful that I can breathe. I'm grateful for a TV show I'm watching. I'm grateful for a friend I talked to. The small things. And then it works up over time. But of course, that might not work for everyone, so here's some other options. I think using art to express your feelings is a great way to journal. And that might not seem like journaling to some people, but in my opinion it is, because it's a way of releasing emotions. A fun concept could be a scribble journal where you scribble in the way you're feeling with different colors that kind of emphasize the feeling you're feeling. So like a yellow scribble could be happy, and then a green scribble could be almost like Inside Out, like disgust. And you can tell by the way the scribbles look on different days if you're feeling more angry or happy. If they're more fluid and nice, that could probably mean you had a good day. If they're rigid and all over the place and they're black, that could probably mean you had a really bad day. It's all up to you. That's the beauty of it. You can do it however you want. That's just such a simple way to start an art type journal without having to be necessarily talented at art. Anyone can scribble. It can also be a really nice release of emotions. Because when you're angry, it can be helpful to just like scribble on a page, you know? Really let it out on that paper. And that's a different type of letting it out than writing about it. If you're more of a creative person, you could really get into it and do more than scribbles. You could do caricatures of how you're feeling. You could draw animals. You can draw different sceneries that describe how you're feeling. Like, that's what's beautiful about art, is the whole point of art is it's supposed to convey emotion. You're choosing what image conveys your emotion. You could also keep a photography journal. You could take pictures of things that also bring that sense of feeling that you're feeling that day. Feeling more moody, you can take more moody photos, maybe add a black and white filter to it, and then keep an album in your photos. A lot of different things can be journaling, and I think that's what we don't realize. Poetry is another great example. It's another art form, and it's another way of conveying feeling that's not necessarily like a diary. And you don't have to be good at poetry to make poetry. This is for your eyes only, or maybe a therapist's eyes, but it can just be a raw showing of how you're truly feeling. And what I think is great with poetry is you can use analogies for how you're feeling. Like, it can be a mundane thing, like you write a poem about a tree and its leaves are dying in the fall. That might seem like such a normal thing, but that could be conveying how you feel like you're dying inside. Your leaves are dying inside. Your leaves are falling off. They're browning. They're crisping. Describe that. Tell me about how the leaves are decaying and the tree is drooping. That can describe how you're feeling about being depressed or anxious, feeling isolated. It can mean whatever you want it to mean. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of journaling. That's the beauty of art. I'd say my last tip of advice for you is, if you've tried to journal in the past or you've never journaled before but it sounds stupid, you need to try something else. You need to spice it up. Try as many types of journaling or art or whatever interests you. Try as many as possible and see what clicks for you. See what makes you spark. See what makes you feel better afterwards. It's a great thing that we're allowed to try things and realize we don't like them, and that's okay. Not every type of journaling is going to work for everyone. What I found is really lovely in my journey with journaling is that having my physical copy of like a journal, a diary, makes it so much easier to go back and see how I've changed and grown over time. I've made a lot of personal growth in my mental health and wellness journey, and I can look back at the journals I wrote and see how badly I was talking about myself, or how badly I was handling a situation, or how I was being mistreated, and I can look back and be so proud of myself, like, oh my gosh, I've come so far, I think so differently about these things, I value myself higher, I'm not so negative anymore, and that's what journaling is great for. You can go back and pat yourself on the back. So if I could give you any advice, it's to just never give up. Never give up on yourself. If things aren't working, try something new. And it's okay to change your mind. And hey, maybe you don't like diary style journaling one day, but then you end up liking it. That's okay too. It's very important to find whatever way works for you, a healthy way to release your emotions. Releasing your emotions in a healthy way stops you from hurting other people and hurting yourself by dwelling on feelings, overthinking, or pushing them down. I would love to hear your guys' journey with this, so if you have something to say, please leave it down below. And let me know if this was at all helpful for you. Let me know if you try any of the suggestions I made. My goal as a creator is to share my journey and help people along their journey. If you found this video helpful, consider leaving a like, and if you want more content like this, you can subscribe down below. I am also on Instagram and TikTok under Mykinator111. My TikTok is a little bit sillier than my Instagram is, so if you're interested in me being a bit silly. While I make pretty serious videos, I try not to take myself too seriously all the time. I hope you know that. I'm just another human being who finds silly internet trends funny. Heaven forbid. Try to keep it real with you guys. I just want to say thank you so much for 10 subscribers. I know the number 10 is so small compared to a lot of other creators with millions of subscribers, but you don't understand how much that means to me. That means the world to me as I'm starting out this journey, my YouTube journey. I have had multiple other channels in the past, so the fact that I'm starting again from scratch and I already have 10 subscribers on the start of my journey, I feel very grateful. So thank you so much. I hope y'all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!